My wonderful listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. We're going to continue this time with our usual audio clips. This time we're going to actually do it like this because I will leave the video podcast, the video part, when we have a really important guest. So let's keep working on that. And this time I just want to tackle this part. The emotional weight of teaching, what educators carry home. There is a part of teaching that very few people outside the profession ever see. It's not the lesson plans, not the grading, or the curriculum meetings, or the administrative paperwork. It is something far more invisible and far more personal as well. It is the emotional weight the teachers carry long after the classroom doors closes. Because teaching, at its core, is not just intellectual work. For sure you all agree with this. It is a human work. Every day, teachers walk into classrooms filled with individuals, not just students, but human beings with stories, fears, dreams, insecurities, and potential that is still unfolding. And when you dedicate your life to helping those human beings grow, sometimes interesting things happen. Their stories begin to live inside you. Teachers carry moments home, moments that replay in their minds when the school day is over. The quiet student who suddenly spoke for the first time, or the student who looked distracted and distant. Also the learner who tried hard but still struggled. The moment when a lesson worked beautifully, and the moment when it completely failed. These experiences do not disappear when the bell rings. They stay, because teaching is an emotionally invested profession. Unlike many careers, teachers are constantly interacting with developing minds and personalities. Students are not finished products at all. They are in progress. And when you work with people who are still becoming who they will be, every interaction matters. Every word can influence confidence. Every moment of encouragement can shift a student's trajectory. And when teachers realize the power of those moments, they begin to carry responsibility in a very personal way. Educational psychology has a term for this. It's called emotional labor. And emotional labor refers to the effort professionals must make to regulate their emotions while supporting others. Teachers perform emotional labor every single day. Imagine standing in front of a classroom when you are tired, or worried about something in your personal life, or sometimes overwhelmed by responsibilities. Yet the moment you begin teaching, you must project something different. And here comes like the energy, patience, encouragement, curiosity. Because students read emotional signals quickly, and that's something we all know and we all agree. If a teacher appears disengaged, the classroom atmosphere changes immediately. So teachers learn to manage their emotions professionally. But emotional regulation requires energy. And over time, that energy expenditure accumulates. Teachers often notice small things that others overlook. A shift in students' tone, a change in participation, or a sudden drop in motivation. Teachers become observers of human behavior. And once you begin noticing these patterns, you begin asking questions like, is that student okay? Are they struggling with something outside school? Did something happen at home? These questions do not come from professional obligation alone. They come from care. And care has emotional consequences as well. One of the paradoxes of teaching is this: the more you care about your students, the heavier the emotional responsibility can feel. But at the same time, that care is what makes teaching powerful. Because students rarely remember every lesson they receive, but they remember how teachers made them feel. A teacher who shows patience during a moment of struggle, or a teacher who believes in a student before they believe in themselves. A teacher who notices effort instead of only results. These experiences shape how students view learning, and sometimes how they view themselves. And teachers understand this influence, right? Which is why many educators replay moments in their minds long after class ends. And all of us, for sure, you all will feel it as well. Did I handle the situation correctly? Could I have explained it better? Or did I push that student too hard? This is something that we actually, as teachers, always think. Regardless of the subject, teachers in general, we all actually think and tend to think about this. So, reflection is part of the teaching profession, but reflection also carries emotional weight when we feel it, especially when teachers hold themselves to high standards. Many educators enter the profession because they want to make a difference. Totally understandable. I actually started like that. And that intention is beautiful, but it also creates pressure. Yes, and then we just have that pressure like, oh, how am I going to do this? I want to do better. And then you're pushing yourself to the limits to a point where you don't even have a moment for yourself. I mean, everything is the teaching world. You forget about yourself as well. And this is the part that is not fair. So students bring their own backgrounds, you know that. Family environments, learning histories, and emotional stages into the classroom. Teachers can guide or encourage. They can create opportunities, but they cannot control every factor influencing a student's life. Yet many teachers still feel responsible when students struggle. This is where emotional fatigue can begin.
Capture life's precious moments in stunning details with our professional cameras. Unleash your creativity and preserve memories like never before. Visit us now at frameflowcn.com.
This is something that for sure we all, as professionals, as teachers, as educators, have felt at some point. And I recall one of the episodes that I have with a wonderful guest, Mike Lehman. He actually came to the podcast show to talk about how to help teachers to leave the profession. Can you believe that? I mean, right now we have teachers who help other teachers to move out. I mean, not just stay in the system, but come out of the system, do something different. Because we're all human. We also need to be with the family. We also need to build a life. Not everything is about being inside a classroom or something like that, right? So I actually encourage you all to go back a little bit and to a few episodes ago. Well, not a few episodes. I gotta say, like 2 seasons ago, that I actually just had Mike Lehman talking about this, how to move on. So check it out. So coming back, psychologists sometimes refer to this phenomenon as compassion fatigue. It occurs when individuals who constantly support others begin to feel emotionally drained. Not because they stop caring, but because caring requires sustained emotional energy. Teachers absorb hundreds of emotional signals every week. No, every hour, every minute, every time we're in the classroom. So, success, frustration, confidence, anxiety, excitement, disengagement, you name it. And managing these emotional environments require attention. Attention that continues even after the school day ends. But here's something important. The emotional weight of teaching is not only about challenges, it is also about meaning. Because the same emotional investment that creates fatigue also creates connection. The moment a student finally understands something difficult, the moment a shy learner gains confidence, or the moment curiosity sparks in a classroom discussion, these moments remind teachers why the profession matters. As a matter of fact, many teachers remember specific students for decades. Students who surprised them, who struggled but persevered, students who return years later to say something simple yet powerful. Thank you, right? Those two words can stay with a teacher forever because teaching often involves delayed impact. A teacher may never fully see the long term results of their work. The lesson taught today may shape a student's future years later, but teachers readily witness the entire journey. Which means educators often operate on faith. Faith that the effort matters. Faith that encouragement matters. That the patient matters. Teaching is an investment in human potential, and investments require time before they show results. But teachers continue investing anyway, and that commitment deserves recognition. That something doesn't happen in the system, right? In recent years, research in education has begun focusing more seriously on teacher well-being, which is good. It's a movement as well. I've seen it in different social media. Uh, because we're beginning to understand something very important. Healthy teachers create healthier learning environments, right? When teachers feel supported emotionally, they can support students more effectively. When teachers feel exhausted or overwhelmed, it becomes harder to maintain the energy required for effective teaching. This does not mean teachers should stop caring. It means teachers need support systems, spaces where they can talk openly about the emotional realities of their work, colleagues who understand the complexity of the profession, moments of reflection that allow educators to process experiences that, rather than carrying them indefinitely. Some teachers develop small habits to help manage the emotional transition from classroom to personal life. A walk after school, a quiet moment to reflect on the day, writing down one positive interaction before leaving the building. These practices may sound simple, but they help teachers close the emotional loop of the day. Because without closure, the classroom can follow teachers home every single night. And emotional boundaries are not signs of indifference, they're signs of sustainability. A teacher who learns how to balance empathy with self care can continue making a difference for many years. But a teacher who carries every emotional burden alone may eventually burn out, and the world cannot afford to lose passionate educators. Because teaching remains one of the most transformative professions in society. Teachers shape how students think, how they communicate, how they see the world, how they see themselves. But teaching also shapes the teachers. It deepens empathy, it strengthens patience, it reveals the incredible complexity of human growth. And yes, sometimes it brings emotional weight, but it also brings profound meaning. Because behind every successful person, there is often a teacher who believed in them, someone who encouraged them, challenged them, or someone who saw their potential before it was visible. So teachers carry stories home, stories of struggle, growth, possibility. And while the emotional weight of teaching is real, it is also a reflection of something extraordinary. It reflects the fact that teaching is not simply a job. It's a relationship. And relationship matters. For every educator listening today who sometimes feel that emotional weight, know this, you're not alone. Every teacher who carries carries that same invisible responsibility. But within that responsibility is also something powerful. The opportunity to shape lives, to inspire confidence, to open doors of possibility. And that impact travels far beyond the classroom walls. Teaching is difficult, is demanding, but teaching also changes the world, quietly, student by student. Until next time, keep teaching with heart, curiosity, and courage.